So I'll be the first one to admit, ladies and gentlemen, that this current video that I'm making, I have no idea regarding the source material of Castlevania at all. I just want to make that very clear. However, I can tell when someone is being absolutely ridiculous, and that is in fact this writer from Forbes by the name of Paul Tassi. We have an article here from Bounding Into Comics that says Forbes writer Paul Tassi accuses Castlevania Nocturne criticism of being rooted in racism or sexism. So yes, it is the very tired, very obvious, very much expected trope that a lot of people have when it comes to stuff like this. You could take one look at this actual picture from Bounding Into Comics and you can get kind of an idea of what's going on. Now, the funny thing is, we see this happen all the time, right? Like, we know this is going to be a thing, and yet some people still are very surprised when they notice that, oh, look, another Western adaptation that has non-stop race swapping, non-stop identity politics. Oh, it has a racial undertone to it. Shocking. This is what they seemingly do with everything that gets adapted in the Western, in the Western world. So let's get into this article, guys, from Bounding Into Comics. But of course, before we do, if you're new here, consider subscribing. I would greatly appreciate it. I'm Shadow Ban as hell, and like the video to push us out into the YouTube algorithm. It says, seemingly unable to fathom that fans may have legitimate complaints against Netflix's treatment of this series' source material, Forbes critic Paul Tassi has attempted to claim that the widespread backlash against Castlevania Nocturne is born solely from racism and sexism. Now, I do think that it's kind of funny that the show is actually called Castlevania Nocturne, and it features a bunch of race swaps. You know what I mean? I think there's a little bit of a funny little joke there. It says a standalone spin-off from Netflix's core Castlevania series, Castlevania Nocturne touts itself as an adaptation of the 1994 Konami-produced video game Castlevania Rondo of Blood, and to a lesser extent, the seminal Castlevania Symphony of the Night. However, in typical Western adaptation fashion, Nocturne deviates heavily from its source material, from race-swapping Annette to giving Richard's adventure a slight hint of racial strife, to having the blue-clad hero embarrassingly finish off Aurochs, himself also race-swapped, with an exchange of edgy dialogue that would make even Joss Whedon cringe. Nocturne takes more creative liberties with the Belmont legend than any of the previous seasons. Now, before we get into the Rotten Tomatoes score, which, by the way, just take a look at it. Just take a look at this score. Don't you think this is a little bit sus? When they do this and they genuinely try to sell you on the fact that this is a 100% rated TV show, are you kidding me? This is why nobody takes Rotten Tomatoes seriously. Rotten Tomatoes has been bought and paid for a very long time. They even have articles coming out over the past few months that has proof of Rotten Tomatoes literally taking money for positive reviews. This website has absolutely no credibility whatsoever, and they never should even be looked at with any sort of credible lens. Now, with that being said, it's pretty damn funny that they have so many race swaps in this TV show, but we cannot pretend as if this is not expected. We should have expected this considering what's been going on for the past few years. Now, again, I'm not a Castlevania expert, so I'm not going to pretend like I am, but I could see bullshit when I see it. Now, with that being said, we have season 1 of this show apparently being a 100% perfect score. This is the best TV show in the entire world, literally 100%. Can you imagine you trying to sell someone on the fact that a TV show is 100% perfect? That's literally what it means. You know what I mean? Like, perfect. That is just impossible. Now, the audience score is a 46%, and even that seems pretty nice considering that it's almost a 50-50 split, which, I mean, ultimately, that's probably what's going to happen when you have a dedicated fan base with something and they start doing this nonsense. So let's get more into this. It says, and in another unsurprising aspect of Nocturne's existence, Netflix's running riot over Konami's original games has led to a polarization of opinions between critics and fans. Per Rotten Tomatoes, the series currently holds a 100% fresh rating across 14 verified critic reviews, though it should be noted that this number was generated by the site's own metric of was the review positive rather than looking at individual review scores, as while the majority of professional critics like Nocturne, they did not give it a perfect score. So again, this TV show has a perfect score. It has a 100 out of 100. It is a 100% perfect score. But when you individually look at the reviews, and I've seen them do this before, the reviews are not 5 out of 5s. The reviews are not 100 out of 100. They are not perfect scores. And yet the website still gives it a perfect score because the reviewer decided to give it a positive review. That is some bullshit. It's all about selling a false narrative. It says, meanwhile, over 500 audience members have left the series with 46% 8% rotten rating, with many specifically criticizing how Nocturne both disregarded the game's continuity in favor of a politically charged plot and sidelined fan favorite vampire hunter Richard Belmont in favor of Annette and her mission of abolishing slavery. Of course, you're gonna have the black woman try to abolish slavery. This is the most stunning and brave TV show I have ever seen. Jeez, man, I get headaches. I really do. I get headaches reporting on this stuff because I'm like, there's just no way. There's no way you're this ridiculous. Like, you really made a plot point about abolishing slavery. Okay, I guess, and you just happen to want to tell that story when you had a black lead. Okay, it just happens to happen that way, right? It says, yet while these disappointed fans have been very clear about just why they feel Nocturne misses the mark, the aforementioned Tassi has come to convince himself that those who strongly dislike the series are nothing more but tired bigots. Authoring a piece headlined Netflix's Castlevania Nocturne again proves the uselessness of user reviews, Tassi took issue with audiences' rejection of the series, asserting that having watched nearly all of the series now, I cannot agree with the bad writing, bad characters complaints that all of you see in the user reviews, but instead a lot of focus is put on what else, its prevalence of black characters and other characters of color, altering a few origin stories to make that work. There's a thorough line of oppression and horrors of slavery in the plot, and outside of that, a focus on gay characters. Oh, we throwing gay people in this too. This show is just hitting every single box imaginable. Every box no wonder people hate this shit. I mean, come on, man. Why are again, I don't care. I'm not a fan of Castlevania. I'm never going to sit here and pretend to be a fan of Castlevania. I did play the games, but I'm not like a super hardcore fan like this. And even I'm like, really? Like, you really did this? I can only imagine how actual real fans feel. And you know what? I think it's fair to say a 50-50 split is expected. I think it's fair to say that. You know, I would probably lean more towards negative than positive, but all right, I'll give it a 50-50 split. But there's no fucking way this show is 100% perfect. I refuse to believe that. That is impossible for any TV show. Not even Breaking Bad was 100% perfect, and that's one of the best shows ever. So there's no way that this stupid TV show is 100 out of 100. Then Tassi says, I cannot tell you how exhausted I am of user reviews for projects like this. Why? You don't like hearing the truth? The truth is constantly going to be out there, no matter how much you try. See, that's the problem with these crazy white liberals. No matter how much you try to suppress the truth, no matter how much you try to censor people's speech, no matter how much you try to stop yourself from hearing other people's opinions, you're never going to succeed. It's going to come out at some point in time. You're going to have to hear it. You're going to have to listen, and you're going to have to see it. That's just the way the world works. Until you start governmentally banning speech, which I know you would love, don't get me wrong. I know these white liberals will love that shit, for the government, big daddy government, to come in and censor the speech of those mean little bigots. You know what I mean? Like, they would love that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, until that happens, you're going to have to hear it. You're going to have to see it. It says this keeps happening over and over, where some established IP includes some characters of color or different orientations and the knives come out. Well, maybe you should make new original stuff and stop stealing shit that has an established fan base and expecting people to just eat it up. Says, I'm just tired of this. He then opined, I think user reviews can be interesting when we see splits from critics that are not rooted in racism or sexism, but Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic have got to get a handle on this. Oh, so you want more reviews banned that there already is. You realize that Rotten Tomatoes consistently filters reviews from users, right? Like, you realize that, especially when it comes to a movie that has come out in theaters, they literally filter reviews. Now, something that's on streaming, that's a different story. But something in the movie theaters, they filter reviews. They literally ban reviews. They censor reviews. So you just want them to completely censor everything. You want no opposition to your ideology whatsoever. You don't want to see anything that's a differentiation of opinion from your own. It's stupid. It says, I know there's a side that says it's critic reviews that are useless, but user reviews, he ultimately concluded his grievance, these systems have never been worse. That's because your content has never been worse. Your creations have never been worse. Like, this stuff didn't exist in the past, and it's not just that, oh, black people didn't exist in the past. No, that's bullshit. They did. There were plenty of black leading movies, black leading TV shows, black leading whatever. There was plenty of them. The only thing is, you didn't read them as a child. You did not see the TV shows as a child. You didn't see the movies as a child. So for you want to pretend like black people never existed prior to you saving them and putting them in modern day movies and everything like that. No. They've always been around. They've always been prominent. it's because you never gave them a chance in the past and you want to pass off that guilt to everybody else. No, no, no. That's not how this works. So ultimately, this man is clearly just trying to censor reviews as much as he possibly can. He doesn't want to hear dissenting opinions, and you really shouldn't be surprised considering who he is. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. And if you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.